Hello, friends. Jim here. Welcome to Science Talk. Interesting article that appeared in the online publication EOS. Soil fungi may be a carbon pool. New research suggests that mycorrhizal fungi take in 13 billion tons of carbon dioxide annually, playing a prominent role in Earth's carbon cycle. Let's see what's going on here. And picture of a fungus there. Let's see, what is it called? Boletus edulis, also called porcini or penny bun, is a fungus that forms mycorrhizal relationships with trees. Mycorrhizal fungi, soil-dwelling fungi that exchange nutrients with plant roots, are important players in plant and soil health. A new study suggests they are also significant carbon pools, or in other words, a carbon sink. Researchers estimated that the fungi receive the equivalent of 13 billion tons of CO2 annually from plants, equal to 36% of current annual fossil fuel emissions. This confirms that the carbon fix to mycorrhizal fungi is globally significant, said Karina Clemensen, a biologist at the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences, not involved in the study. Mycorrhizal fungi absorb water and mineral nutrients such as nitrogen, sulfur, and phosphorus from the soil, deliver those nutrients to their plant partners. In return, plants provide the fungi with sugars and fats produced during photosynthesis. Remember, plants cannot utilize atmospheric nitrogen. You need what we call fixating nitrogen organism. Uses this bacteria that does that. Fungi can also do that. So they fix the nitrogen into a form that the plants can use, which is usually nitrate. And there's the whole nitrogen cycle between nitrite, nitrates, ammonia, etc., etc. I did a prior video discussing all of that. You may want to check that out. This mutualism between plants and fungi has a long history. Mycorrhizae have been found in plant fossils more than 400 million years old. Today, most land plants form relationships with mycorrhizal fungi. Notable exceptions include mosses and cabbages. The fungi form a vast subterranean web that stabilizes soil, shuttles nutrients towards the Earth's surface, allows plants to grow and thrive. Because the plants supply the mycorrhizal fungi with carbon rich food, the fungal web can potentially transport and store large amounts of carbon. So far, this potential has been underappreciated, said the study's lead author, Heidi Jane Hawkins, an ecologist at the University of Cape Town, director of research at Conservation South Africa. We have known for some time that these fungi are ubiquitous and vital across the planet, she said, but soil fungi are more difficult to study than organisms above ground, and progress tends to be slower. To put a number on global mycorrhizal carbon cycling, Hawkins and her co authors consulted 198 published data sets recording the percentage of plant derived carbon that end up in mycorrhizae. Some mycorrhizal fungi receive only 1% of a plant's carbon budget, with the rest going to plant biomass. Others receive more, and on the setup between the species involved. The researchers combined this information with estimates of the total amount of atmospheric carbon taken each year by various groups of plants. This enabled the researchers to extrapolate how much carbon is allocated annually to mycorrhizal fungi. The researchers compared their results with the total annual CO2 emission from fossil fuels. We were surprised that the flux to the fungi amounted to 36% of CO2 from fossil fuel emissions. The high carbon flux implied that mycorrhizal fungi can influence atmospheric CO2 concentration and could amplify or reduce global warming. So let's take a look from the fungal perspective. The results should be interpreted as a rough estimate that can guide future, more refined investigations, according to Clemenson. To truly understand mycorrhizal fungi's role in carbon cycling, she said, scientists must first understand their life cycles and interactions with their surroundings. We need to take the fungal perspective. Basically, you need to have a better understanding of the basic physiology and life cycles of these organisms. Most of the source data were obtained from short term laboratory studies, Clemenson explains, so they may not reflect how mycorrhizal fungi store and transport carbon in nature in the long term. Importantly, not all the carbon accepted by mycorrhizal fungi remains in the soil. Fungi release CO2 as they respire and can either promote or inhibit decomposition of organic matter, which reintroduces CO2 to the surroundings. Some carbon is incorporated into fungal biomass underground, but the total size of that biomass, as well as the effects of respiration and decomposition, is still unclear. So, what it's saying there is that, okay, the fungi, they respire and they release CO2. So, is it a net? Is it a net CO2 release or a net CO2 storing? In other words, overall, is it a source or a sink? Add in what fungi do with organic matter, breaking it down, decomposing it. That also releases CO2 and nitrogen, right? And again, what's the net? So they need to construct a better carbon budget with respect to the fungi. Understand better overall their role in the carbon budget and the carbon cycle. Hawkins says she hopes these questions will be addressed as mycorrhizal fungi receive more attention from researchers. While there are uncertainties, mycorrhizal fungi certainly constitute a substantial carbon pool and one we do not want to lose. Soil fungi are threatened by agriculture and development, but are often neglected in environmental policy and conservation efforts. Agricultural practices, such as preferring perennial to annual crops, not tilling the soil, and planting diverse crops, can prevent damage to fungal webs. In addition, protecting natural forests and grasslands helps to preserve fungi. Clemenson agreed that mycorrhizal fungi deserve environmental consideration. Most plant species form symbioses with tens to hundreds of fungal species. In my opinion, the most important action would be to conserve the few pristine ecosystems that we have left to secure their biodiversity. So here we get an indication of just how complex the natural world is. And it's also pointing out the importance, the need to understand better the role of fungi in the carbon cycle and the carbon budget as it impacts the overall climate. Thank you for your time.